Well, folks, the latest moral panic is in full swing. There is apparently a boycott of Amazon Prime in the works. People are very upset yesterday about the launch of this new satanic TV show. Plastered all over Amazon Prime's Twitter account yesterday was imagery related to Hazbin Hotel, which is a it started as a independently produced, animated, and voiced pilot that was put onto YouTube like in 2019, and the original pilot has many millions of views. And so I guess eventually Amazon picked it up, and it was produced by A24, which does a lot of independent films, sort of like that. They kind of have the indie spirit, I guess. They do more experimental things. And apparently, the little trailer that they released was not well received, which came as a little bit of a surprise to me, considering I saw that pilot back in 2019, and there is so much more morally objectionable things getting put out on services like Amazon Prime or Netflix, or being put on regular television, linear television every day, that I guess I didn't expect it to be a big controversy. But I guess because literally, it's about hell, it was seen as, particularly vulgar, as outwardly satanic. And honestly, after I watched the little teaser trailer that they put out, which ends up being the first minute and a half of the first episode, I can kind of understand why that would be people's first reaction, because that is how they start off the first episode, is with this romanticized fairy book origin story for the creation of hell. But as soon as that sequence is over, you find out this is actually, a storybook, a literal storybook in the context of the show, being read by the daughter of Lucifer and Lilith. And so you get the impression, we're not supposed to take this at face value. This is a romanticized story that this, naive little girl believes. And we find out that her, her impression is probably, her storybook version of this tale is probably not the full truth when we find out that, her mom hasn't even talked to her in the past 7 years, and who knows where her dad is. And so we're not led to believe that Lucifer and Lilith in the first, 2 minutes of the show are great people. The message that I got from this show was not that people in hell, the souls that end up in hell, are just misunderstood, which is the common trope these days. All the evil people are just misunderstood. The evil people are the real heroes. In fact, it's not really clear who the heroes are supposed to be, other than the main protagonist. But you know what? I don't even really want to get into that, because to me the real story here is not that this is some satanic programming to teach your child to worship the devil. The real story here is that this was a pretty boring and mediocre cartoon that did not feel, for the most part, very mature at all. In fact, a lot of the time, the swearing felt shoehorned. It felt completely out of place, because the rest of the writing was just, especially in episode 1. Episode 1, if you took out the swearing and stuff, and a little bit of the crass language, could have been, a part of a kids show. Now, it wouldn't have been a very good kids show, because I think even kids shows should have something going on. But remarkably, this was the first episode of a brand new series, and it felt like filler. And so upon finishing episode 1, I really was quite I thought it was quite ironic to me that people were so upset because they thought that this show would have some, grand, overarching, like, pro-Satanist message and that it would be really effective or something like that. When at the end of the day, it was a middling cartoon with interesting character designs. Now, the later episodes, there are 4 out, did get a little bit more interesting. In fact, I think that the 4th episode was by far the best, although it did not end very well. The 4th episode actually had a bit of tension to it, which was something that I had almost forgotten about as a concept, until it rolled around, because there was just such a lack of tension. I really couldn't care less about what was going on in the first 3 episodes. But then you have episode 4, which is a commentary on how, like, bad it is to work in the porn industry, and how, this character who we'd been shown through the pilot and the first 3 episodes of this show to be just a, flamboyant gay porn star who supposedly loves engaging in copious amounts of, gay sex and appearing in, countless pornographic films, is actually miserable and is coerced by, I guess it'd be his producer, to do all this, and willingly got into it, but now is he dug himself into a deep hole and can't get out, and it's like, wow, this is like some real life stuff. That's pretty based. They portrayed the so-called sex worker not as liberated, but as a literal slave. And we even get to, learn his actual name, because he signed the contract originally, which sold his soul to this gay pornographer. He originally had, like, an actual man's name, Anthony, which was a nice touch, because throughout the rest of the show, he goes by his gay porno name. And so it's like pornography has stripped away everything from this character, even his own name. And this is not the kind of message that you would get, I think, from a show that is trying to get people into Satanism and, promote how, sinning is such a great thing. That is not what they do at all. In fact, they show later on in the episode, there's a heart-to-heart between the gay porn star and a gambling addict, who, both ended up as slaves to other demons. And I think tonally, by the end of the episode, they really screwed it up, because they tried to make it, like, happy, but still, even though the tone was really muddled and confusing, by the end, it was poorly executed, in other words. The message itself was still not what people on Twitter were afraid of. At least that's not what I got out of it. And usually, most of the, the woke shows, they're not subtle. They don't know how to be subtle. They'll come right out and tell you, being a straight white man and raising a family is bad. And you know what's being good? Black trans porn star. That's what you should be. And so, yeah, I'd say it's a mixed bag. Was it funny? No. But I wasn't looking for this show to really be funny. I was hoping it would be, more compelling, like, from a story perspective, based on the premise and the original pilot. I think the original pilot, did have an interesting story that it was setting up. I only chuckled a couple times in a couple of the episodes. Episode 1 completely fell flat for me. I don't think there was really anything of value in that episode. A plot was our protagonist going to meet with the ambassador from heaven, who turns out to be Adam, and and she's all excited because she's a good person and she expects the angels to be good people, and he's just a dude bro, and like that was the whole joke, that like he was not an angel, even though he was literally an angel. I didn't really get what the joke was supposed to be. He was just going on and talking about himself and being like a jerk. and talking about all these sinful activities that he likes to engage in, which beg the question, well, wait, why isn't he in hell then? Like, are they setting something up, or is this just a joke that wasn't very well thought out? Why is the angel a sinner, but singing a song about how all the sinners are in hell for a good reason and they had their chance and they can't complain now? It didn't make any sense. And you know what? Logic in your writing, that's something that I actually care about. Maybe not everyone. Maybe if you found it funny, you could get past it, but I didn't, I wasn't laughing, I'll put it that way. I was just confused. So all in all, I mean, I would not, I don't think I would recommend watching this, because it's just not very good. I don't know if it's worth your time. I was morbidly curious because I really liked the pilot. I think that if the whole show was that level of quality, which honestly the pilot was like a big budget feature film, animated film level of quality. If the pilot had been like a 90-minute thing, a 90-minute film, I think that they could have gotten or should have been picked up for distribution and put into theaters or at least on streaming, that kind of thing. Because the pilot was gorgeous. I love the voice work. I did not like the recast as much, the Amazon Prime voice actors. Most of them are fine. There was one character in particular that I did not care for at all. But all that could be forgiven if it was really interesting. And for the most part, it's not. I mean, they put out half of the 8-episode season, so there's not a whole lot left. If your first episode is already filler, that's not setting a good tone. I can see why they put out the first 4 episodes, because really, episode 4 was the first one that you could kind of call good. There was a fun sequence in episode 2. By the way, I didn't even mention this directly. There are, I think, 2 musical numbers in every episode, which those can be fun. Were all of them fun? No. I particularly really didn't care for the last one at the end of episode 4 because, like I said, I think it completely ruined the tone and just destroyed any tension. I mean, if I were writing this, episode 4 would have been like the beginning of an arc, would have been nice to have a character arc for Mr. Anthony. I will call him by his real name, not his slave name, out of deference. And that's a big step. You know what? Because the episode actually made me sympathetic for this character who was completely obnoxious and just gross in the pilot and the first 3 episodes. And you know what? He kind of, accepts some responsibility, for the position he's in. He's not just playing completely, woe is me. And so I had some, modicum of respect for that. Now, keep in mind, these are supposed to be, demonic figures. These people are all literally demons. So maybe that's the true subversion, is making you respect, making you sympathize a little bit with someone who's literally a demon. But I mean, look at the people who the creator decided to make the demons in hell. You have a gay porn star. You have a gambler. There's a fashion designer. An arms dealer. Where was I just talking about arms dealers yesterday? Actually, the arms dealer, I don't even want to get into this. The arms dealer, they were kind of setting up as an interesting character, and then they didn't seem to really do anything with it. It just kind of came and went. It's like, they told us something. There was a lot of telling us about what characters are like or how characters feel, which is no bueno. You're in the no bueno writing zone. But anyway, there's fashion designer. There's all sorts of people. You know who they didn't have really showing as here's the demons. They didn't show white male family man, which is what you would expect from this kind of show if you hadn't seen the pilot. Just looking at what the subject matter was and whatnot, you would think, oh, this is going to be a woke show and tell us why straight white men are so evil. And it's like, no, actually hell is full of drug addicts and homosexuals and murderers and gamblers. And no, they're not going to tell us that, the show is not going to tell us that these people are happier because they're drug addicts and, and gay porn stars. It's actually a really bad thing, and it weighs heavily on them. And they literally live in hell. Their life is a hell in hell. So they're being punished, in other words. To avoid rambling on, I think I've said everything that I have to say without getting, I didn't want to get into specifics. I did not want to do like a freaking episode-by-episode breakdown or some crap like that. I wanted to give a 30,000-foot overview for people who might have heard about this and seen the controversy on Twitter. I didn't plan originally on talking about this, but because I saw the controversy, and I think it ties in very well to the current cultural moment we're in. So with that said, I'll see you folks back here in the next one.